Well, g'day and welcome back to the shed. This is part 2 of this little New Zealand Pacemaker Transportable radio, and in the last part I powered it up after returning from our trip through the wildflower country and found that it actually works, which is a really good start for any radio in my book. So there's still a fair bit of work to do on it though. The cabinet's pretty scruffy for a start, and it'll probably need its electrolytics replaced and a few bits and pieces done to it. But overall it's in pretty good nick. Now, I did say last time that these were made from 1960. After checking with the New Zealand Radio Project website, I was wrong. They were made from 1957 up to about 1960. Now, this is one of the last models. I can tell that because it has an earphone socket on the side there and a hole in the back to access a jack for an external aerial, and that appears to be made for a car aerial. Now, these radios were made by Collier Beale Limited in New Zealand, and the first model had a brass plate behind the Pacemaker logo here, and instead of transportable along the bottom here on this brass plate, it had transistor 8 written here. That's apparently the only real difference. Okay, so let's have a look at getting the chassis out. There's a bracket there on the side and something stuck down there on a little standoff. That doesn't look like the chassis removal instructions that I got from the New Zealand Vintage Radio Project's webpage. So this shows a screw here, a screw here and a screw here. Well, there's a screw there, that's about right. There's a screw hole there, and this bracket's been attached below it onto the side. There's two screws here, but they seem to just hold this plate. Perhaps there's something underneath. There's no screw here as on the diagram, but there is one here. So I guess we'll just play it by ear. Now it says first to remove the tone and volume knobs. Now I know this is the volume. I guess it just pulls up. Yep, that's all right. That'll come up okay with a cleanup. And this apparently is the tone. Now, when I powered it up, this just went around, didn't seem to do anything. There is, yeah, I don't know if you can see that, but there's a little slot up the side here, which is full of crap, and I can't see that that's been engaging with this. There doesn't seem to be any ridge or anything on the inside. This little detent here obviously operates the on-off switch. And next we remove the station dial. Actually, this is coming off quite easily. Now that is pretty cloudy, but again I think it'll clean up all right. And of course it's missing its little brass centerpiece. I don't know what I'm going to do for that. I have to find a way of replacing these because they're always missing. Now this, I guess, just lifts off. Yes. Oh, and we've got a highly professional piece of something cut out there. Okay, and remove the chassis by swinging it out on the lower edge after undoing the screws. So let's have a look at that. Okay, so I guess let's start with this. And there's this screwed at the side here. Come on, out you come. You know you want to. There we go. And that looked like it went into the plastic side of the handle in there, which worries me a little bit. Now let's take this out. And this is a self-tapper. Okay, what happens now? That's screwed to the top of the chassis. Surely that's not right. You can't get to the top of that. You'd have to bend it to get it out. It looks as if... I don't suppose it's under here. I could try, but I doubt it. Nope. Alright, I can't see anyway, other than bending that up out of the way, so I'll do that. Now we have this one here which just screws into the side, and take this one out. Another self-tapper. I'm happy that it goes, but it does look like someone's been in here before and done maybe a little bit of a butcher's job to the chassis. Now what's this attached to? Another small screw, and there's this one here which also doesn't look original. It's got a nut packing it up underneath. Looks like that's just going around in the wood too. There we go. And I suppose I'll lose all of this. No. Alright, so now we just swing the chassis outwards from the bottom, as it says. Oh, the earphone socket. Okay. Now, yep, that seems all right, except it's hanging up on the handle. There we go. She's out. So it all looks pretty tidy, apart from this silver paint that someone splattered everywhere. There's one electro there that's a 10 mic. The rest of them are these mustard caps, which are usually good, and we know it works well. I can see another one just in there, and looking down at the underside of the board here, I can see one just down in here. That's only 3. I suppose I may as well change them. I didn't have to bend this strip at all. It comes out with the chassis. I thought it was screwed to the top, so my bad. It will go back. Alright, I'll have to straighten that up. That's not great. So this had a screw in there. I guess that's the one that they were talking about. This one here. So I'll take that off, straighten it all up, put it back, I guess. It all seems pretty dusty in here, so I'll clean it off a little bit first. This outer concentric shaft for the tone control does feel a bit stiff. I'm not sure how that would engage on the knob without a slot in it at the side, but the knob doesn't appear to have ever had any kind of ridge or anything to engage in that. It would have to be placed carefully so that this open leaf switch here that operates the on-off comes in at the right point, so that would have to happen, I guess, at the extreme left-hand end of travel, so around here. Anyway, I'll probably just spray some WD-40 in that to free it up. I might take the speaker out just so I can get at things a little bit more easily. And this also appears to have 2 different screws in the speaker, so that's probably not original. It's slightly shorter too. Okay, now it obviously grounds via these screws because it's only got one wire on it, and the other wire is just grounded to the speaker frame, so well, that's probably alright. That's the way it works. Just looking at it straight up, I can see a big fat transistor there. One lead goes to ground. There's a resistor to ground there. This lead goes to a coil, and this one onto this trim cap. So that looks like that'll be Q1, 2N247, and that'll be right. That'll be the base going to that trim cap there, and it also has a wire going through to the aerial coil, which is mounted on the other side underneath. We have a 0.01 cap on here somewhere, that'll be underneath there, going back to the aerial, and yeah, so that'll be that. I'll leave it alone, I don't want to mess with it. Looking around here for electrolytics, so we've got two of them here. So there's this one here and this one here. I might just lift them and see how they measure. They might be alright, but they're 65 years old, so they probably should be changed. I'll check a few resistors, but I suspect that they're all okay. The way the thing's working, there's nothing too bad wrong with this radio. Now this one is a 10 microfarad at 25 volts, and this one's a 1 microfarad at 25 volts, I think, as far as I can read the label. So I'll see what I've got lying around. I don't think I'm going to be able to find axial ones. That's the only thing. I'll probably have to use radial lead caps, which never looks right, but what can you do? Now there's a couple more capacitors on the other side of this board, so I might just have to gently remove that board and see what they are, because I can't even read the values, and I will replace them anyway, just on principle, because they're so old. There we go. Alright, let's have a look. It seems to want to lift up this way, so I'll turn it around. There's another little electrolytic there too. Okay, so this is 64 microfarad, again at 25 volts, and this one I can't read because of its placement. Same with this one, it's got the writing downwards. Well, I've only been working on this a few minutes and I've already come up upon the first conundrum. This cap here, it's marked blob UF. I first took that for a 1, but I don't think it can be. It's just like a rectangle. It may be an 8, I don't know. Now this end of it is connected via this resistor to the bottom of the pot. Now that's a brown, black and orange. That'll be a 10k resistor. It definitely goes via that resistor to the bottom of the pot and to ground, with the positive side to ground, and that definitely says positive there, and it has a little ring around it, so that's positive to ground. Now I can't find that capacitor anywhere in this schematic. This presumably is the volume control. This is the tone one because it's connected to the on-off switch, and I presume this little capsule is the way they show a potentiometer on this thing. Now there is an 8UF cap connected to the wiper of that pot, but this is definitely not connected to the wiper. It's connected to one end of it, and the other side goes to a 4.7k resistor to the base of this OC71. That makes sense for what that is, but neither end of this cap goes to ground. There's this one here, which is also an 8UF. It goes to the top of the volume pot. It could be that one, but the other end again does not go to ground. It goes via this 20k resistor R11 to this resistor network, and down to ground there. But it gets worse. Now this clearly shows over here the negative side of the battery going to ground. That has a little ground symbol on it there. The positive side of the battery going to the switch, and that would suggest that it is negative. The chassis is negative. Well, it has to be according to this. However, here is the battery lead, and I connected positive to the red wire, which is clearly grounded. And this capacitor, and I haven't verified it, but possibly all the other electrolytics have their positive connected to the ground side. I'll just check. Now this one here I think goes to ground. It has its positive there. I'll just check if that positive is ground. Yes, it's showing 0.5 ohms to ground. And that'll just be contact resistance. So it seems that if all the electrodes have their positives to ground, it seems that this has reverse polarity to the schematic. Okay, so I've replaced this electrode with its positive to the chassis as per the original, and I'm just about to hook it up to the power supply and make sure it still works, because I'm not at all confident with this radio that I know what I'm doing. So, and it doesn't seem to follow the schematic very much at all. So here we go. I've screwed a little piece of wood to the bottom of it so I can stand it up. There we go. And I've got the power supply hooked up here. Okay, so I'll just bring the voltage up slowly. So that's on. Bit of volume. That's closed. Bring it up.
Viviana and Enrique suspect their game would become on pit leader Paul Yasman. Atkins to Dangerfield, hands it out, slipping over. There might be the old pairs of socks to practice in.
Yes, we did discuss those socks.
Well, it seems to be working fine, picking up a lot of stations, even in the shed here. But yeah, this gets curiouser and curiouser. Okay, well, just looking at what we've got here. So the battery is very definitely positive to, I presume this represents the chassis rail. It has a ground symbol on it. And there's a few other anomalies. The volume pot does not connect to the chassis. It's about 500 ohms off the chassis, so that's different. It doesn't connect to the negative rail, which is here too. The speaker does connect to the chassis rail, but I suppose it wouldn't matter if that was the other way around. These transistors, in my radio, these are OC75s, but an OC75 is also a PNP transistor, very similar spec. So I don't think that would make much difference, except that obviously you would have a problem. This collector here has to be negative. Electrons flow through there and out through the emitter, and also into the base and out through the emitter. So that has to be negative. Now, that was connected to positive. Obviously, what do? You could probably turn the whole thing around and it'd still work. I don't know. I'm a real klutz with transistors. I know nothing about them. This one here will be a little bit more difficult, and I should have a look and just see what they've used in here. Whether they've substituted NPN transistors in the output pair. I don't know. I don't know if these transistor types are the same either. I haven't pulled it out and had a look. But yeah, let's just have a look at the radio and see what this pair is. I'll have to take that board off again, but I think it'll be worth it just out of curiosity. Obviously were some pretty major changes during production, and this would probably be one of the early circuits, I suppose. I really don't know. So here's that push-pull output pair here, and much as I don't want to mess with them, my curiosity's got the better. I'll just have a look at what they are. So I'll just undo this heatsink here. Okay, so very carefully pressing the heatsink off. do this side, it might be easier. I don't know if you can read that, but that definitely says OC72 on both of them. Okay, so this will be the collector, slightly separated from the other two with a red dot on it, and same there, and the two collectors, as per the schematic, go straight into the output transformer down here. Now looking at the other side of the board, now I'll put them back together. So there's a collector on that side and on this side going to the output transformer. These two middle ones here will be the bases with a 2K resistor between them as per the schematic, and the emitters, which are common on the schematic, go to the positive rail, but on this one they go via this. This is some kind of a variable resistor, and I'm not exactly sure what it does, but I'll show you on the schematic in a minute. This goes straight to the chassis via this piece of wire here that I've bent up a bit. Whereas on the schematic is the two common emitters. Now this is that variable resistor. There's R27 2 to 3.2 ohms, and it's marked brown, green and gold. Now that goes on the schematic to the switch, the positive side. So yeah, that makes sense. I just don't understand why they made the change. I'm sure they had their reasons. It's probably just as well I didn't check the schematic before I hooked up the power supply, otherwise I would have probably cooked it. Just going over this silver paint with paint stripper. I couldn't find anything else that would take it off. I'll just see what's underneath. It looks like there is some actual rust there, which I'll treat with rust converter and perhaps coat the actual area that's rusted with something. We'll just see. There's some really deep scratching in there. Someone has been sawing away perhaps at that screw head. Maybe it was rusted in, I have no idea.
Says despite China gaining remains on.
And swans, but haven't locked in flights.
Use the cost of living for renters.
Landlords will also no longer...
Yeah, well, it's working quite well. I've replaced all the electrolytics now, and I'm not going to do anything more with it. It seems to be working fine. Here's the ones I took out of it. Now, 5 in all. None of them were terrible. Most of them were over by up to 50%. None of them had a terrible ESR, but I think they're better out of there than in. I've also polished up this dial cover here, and it's come up very clear. I'm happy with that. Apparently these are hard to come by in good condition, so that's a bit of a bonus. I ended up respraying this with silver paint. I couldn't get it to look decent, so that's probably the best I can do with it. So now it's on with the cabinet. So I'll just get this off the bench, disconnect the power supply. I'm not sure what I'm going to do about batteries for this. I can make up a battery pack of C cells or D cells or whatever. I don't think it has a huge current draw anyway. I'd like to find a socket to match this plug, and I'll have to look around. I may have something that'll do the job. So now the cabinet, and this is the back. It's in fairly good nick, but there's a chip in the veneer there and another little mark there. I think the best thing I can probably do with that is fill it and try and tone it to the rest of the wood. This will rub down and restain and come up nicely, I would think. I don't want it too dark. It was originally a light colour, so I'll see what I can find for that. The rest of the cabinet, why someone had to splatter silver paint all over the place, I'm really not sure. It's another curious thing. Behind the dial is this hand cut out piece of plastic, which I'm pretty sure is not original. The handle is held in by these two plastic bosses screwed to the inside, I think, and this one has broken off, which is why they had put a bracket on here to hold the chassis in place. I may be able to get that logo off there and straighten it out a little bit with a bit of heat. I don't know. This off indicator has a couple of pins which you can just see on the inside in there, so I might try and punch them through and take it off. Also, there's these two spots here. These are bolts which appear to have been sheared off or cut off. Each has a nut on the inside, protrudes into the inside. I think maybe they had some kind of a catch attached to them, perhaps a little turnbuckle or something. Now here we can see some indication of the original colour. It also has a black line marked across it. Now I don't know if that is original or whether that was the original way of reading the dial. The photos I've seen seem to have a black background on the dial, and I can't see this working particularly well. So I think I'll probably make up some kind of a black disc with a white line. I think that's what the photos that I've seen seem to indicate. So first I'll try unscrewing this side of the handle. See if that, yes, that does unscrew quite easily. So if I undo that, there we go. And what I need is to make up another one of them, so I might be able to do that. Okay, and that just apparently pulls out there. This side may be a bit more difficult. We'll see if I can unscrew it. Oh yeah, yep, that's unscrewing. Alright, so these apparently now just remove. There we go. Now it has a washer on each side. I better not lose that. That will go on there. And these are brass, so they'll polish up nicely and give them a coat of lacquer. Okay, so let's just try this. It's hard to get in there. Too little. There we go. And the other one. Now let's just try this. There we are. Put that aside. Okay, so that's pretty much everything off the top. We've got these feet on the bottom which are possibly screwed in or nailed in. I might be able to prise them off. Ah, just a peg. Okay. Okay. Here's the case upside down, and I'm just looking at how I'm going to get this front panel out. We have these little glazing clips here, one here and one here. I was also curious about these things here on the back panel that were apparently once clips. It looks as if these were, and I don't know if you can see that, plastic pegs. So you can see there that it's actually a plastic, it looks like brown plastic peg in the back of that. Now looking at this, I'll see if I can get these glazing clips out. I should be able to put these back in easily enough, I think. A bit like fitting a window, you just tap them in sideways. It seems fairly reluctant to come out though. No, it doesn't want to come out. Yeah, I think the ones I can't get out I'll just have to bend up. Now, will this come out? Doesn't want to go past those clips, but it's doing it. Okay. It's hanging up on a little lump there. So I'll take that out. And I think we're nearly there. We'll have to come out bottom first, of course. There we go. I think that'll probably just come up with a clean. I don't think it needs much. Got this little brass clip here which holds this post on. Okay. Probably need to mark its location, so I'll do that. And here we have the bare wooden case which I can clean up. I'll get this silver paint off here and I'll start by rubbing it back. Oh, these two brass pieces here, they're held in by these pins here. They should come out fairly easily. Now the lettering on this is pretty good, but the brass surrounding it is not great. I'll try and clean up the brass without damaging the lettering and give it a coat of lacquer and put it in. The inside should be easy enough. I'll also take out these plastic pins here. I think they'll probably just come out with a tap. Yep. I'd like to know what kind of clip was attached to those. If I can get a picture of them or something, I'll see if I can make up something similar. Just gave this a coat of paint stripper and it seems to be coming off reasonably well. That'll probably need a little bit more, but gee, that's pretty good. I'll clean the rest of that up. Trying to get this silver paint off the speaker baffle. It seems to have soaked in. It's not really coming off all that well. Yeah, I think that's going to have to be a paint job. I'm going to have to get this Pacemaker logo off, and it does need a little bit of work anyway, so I'm hoping that I can just cut around these plastic bits and push it out. Now I wonder if I can just push that through. It does seem to be cooperating. Yes. So. Yes. There we go. So I'll see if I can straighten that out a bit. We'll clean it up and put it back on. Well, I was able to sand most of that out. It still has a bit of a dark stain here, but I think that's better than painting it. So what I'll do is I'll give that a spray with clear lacquer when I'm spraying the cabinet, just to reseal it after I've sanded it. I've just taken the case outside to sand it, and I noticed that it has a, I don't know if you can see that, it's just coming away a little bit at the corner there, and it is visible from the front. So I think I'll better glue that up before I do anything else. I don't think it'll take much to get it fixed up. It'll need a bead of glue along the inside and clamping for a while. And then I'm going to sand it back and grain fill it. Now, oak isn't always grain filled. It's fairly typically left with some texture, but this area here in the dial is absolutely smooth. That has not been left open grained. It's got grain filler in it. So I'm going to try and duplicate that. So inside the case where I cleaned out that silver paint, there's a lot of black stains, I guess from leaky batteries. So I'm going to try and sand them out, and they're coming out reasonably well. Unfortunately, I don't know if I can get all of these stones out. They're pretty deep. Okay, so just clamping this up. I'll just wipe that off with a damp cloth. I don't want it getting into the grain. And particularly on the front here, it's seen. I think we need another clamp on there to push it down this way. Okay, I better do that. There we go. Yeah, that looks nice and tight now. All right, I'll come back when that's set. I've fine sanded it all and given the whole lot a coat of grain filler. So now I'm just about to rub the grain filler coat off, and I'll start with the back panel, see how that goes. It'll turn white as I sand it, but that's what we want, and give it a nice smooth finish. It's pretty good. You might be able to see there the small repair I did. Tried to blend it in as best I could. It is visible though. Okay, so I'll do the same with the cabinet. Alright, I think that's covered everything. Okay, so that's ready for spraying. I'm going to start by spraying the back just to see how that goes. I've dusted this off and I've already sprayed the bottom, so I've fitted the feet back to it so that I can stand it up. That's at least touch dry now. It's been about half an hour. So now I've just blanked off those little holes where the off badge goes in. Well, there we are. It's all dried off quite nicely. It didn't come up too badly. There's some slight marks still in the timber. There's a little dark mark there and a slight one there. I don't think they really detract from the appearance. I think it'll be fine. I've cleaned up these brass bits. I haven't lacquered them yet, but I've just gone over them with superfine steel wool, and I'll give them a rub over with Brasso and then a coat of lacquer. The handle I don't think needs it, that's anodised. It's come up reasonably well. Possibly a polish on this plastic here, but it's all intact, it's all in good nick. The back, yep, that's looking pretty good too. I've cleaned up this mesh here, which will go back in here, and the little panel pin holes actually still line up, so that's the way around it goes. So I should be able to get them back in without too much trouble. I was a bit worried about that, so that will be fine. I still haven't solved the problem of the catches, but I've got a few ideas. We'll see how we go. Okay, I've sprayed all of these with Incralac, which is just a lacquer for metal, and they're looking pretty good. So I'll just I guess start putting things together. So first I guess I need to put these little brass pieces back in, and they will just, they're a tight fit, they'll just slot in there, and they're held in place by these tiny brass pins, which luckily I haven't lost any of yet. So I'll put that in there. They're very fiddly. I did manage to clean the heads up, but they're not much bigger than a pinhead. That just presses in. Actually, it's just going to press in with my fingers back into its original hole. That's probably a good thing. There we go. Yeah, they just press back in. Okay. I don't know if I should put some glue on them or something. I can't imagine them coming out. They've lasted so far. Yeah, I'll just give them a little tap just to... That one's up a bit. There we go. Alright, and the same with the top strip. And the mesh that goes in this back panel was also held on by these little pins. I can just see the holes through the mesh where they went, so that's handy. There we go. And probably just push it in with the pliers actually. Don't need to hammer it. There we go. The next thing I suppose is to assemble the front panel, and it just goes together with this on top. I'm not sure which way it went. Like that. I brushed this off. I can't really get it any cleaner, but it doesn't matter because it doesn't show through the mesh. So this mesh then goes on here. But before I do that, this post attaches to the front panel here, and it has this metal piece of copper which wraps around the front of the grill, and I guess its purpose must be to ground it. I can't think of any other reason to put that on there. So I don't know if it's a factory thing or someone's added it later. They must have had their reasons, I suppose. So I'm just going to fit this on here. Okay, that's nice and tight. So then this and the grill fits on here, and I have to make sure these holes line up for the little Pacemaker logo. There we go, that looks good. I'll just fold this copper piece over here. Now the logo. I managed to straighten that out. Looks pretty good. I just heated it up, didn't take a lot of heat, it's quite soft plastic, but it's come up quite nicely. I'll just tidy up its legs a little bit. Okay, so that will now sit in there. Doesn't really want to go in, that's better. Okay, there they are. Yeah, I'll just melt them in again, I suppose. It should be hot by now. Just press down on it and melt them in a bit. Alright, I've given this a spray. So now the trick is to try and put it back in the box. Haha. I'm hoping that I can now push it past those bent over glazing clips, because I can't get them out. Certainly not without extreme violence, which is not probably a good idea. Okay, so what is happening here? Seems to go past those clips, which it is, and down, and to be pushed very firmly into the front. Something's not quite right there. It's hanging up on the bottom. There. The top's in okay. So now all I've got to do is bend these little buggers back. Yep, that's working. And I'll just tap these down as well. And there's a screw top and bottom, so I'll get that in now. Let's just see how it looks. Not too bad. Now before we put the chassis in, the handle has to go on, because the chassis actually bolts to the handle mountings, and we have these two little plastic things which the handle screws into. I'm not really sure which way they go around, but one of them was broken, and I've made up this one out of epoxy putty, and I've attached it to the stub of the old one. I actually got hot wires and heated some wires up and melted them into the original one to help hold the whole thing together. It seems pretty solid, and while it was still soft, I haven't got a tap that size, so while it was still soft, I managed to run this self-drilling screw into here, which is about the same size as the other one. It should work okay. Now there's some little washers that went on the handle. There's one. It looks like fibre of some sort, and they go on this part. It goes like that. I guess with the Pacemaker label facing forwards. That cleaned up quite well actually. It's quite nice. Okay, so there we go. So this had the good one on it. I think they must go this way. If I'm putting them on the wrong way, I'll soon find out when I go to put the chassis in the cabinet. That points outwards so we can screw into it. Oh, that way. Doesn't go another... Yes, it does go another full turn. There we go. And I guess the same with this one. I guess we need to get the chassis back in. Just use my little piece of wood one more time. I'll take this off, That needs to be lacquered too, I forgot about that. And the station dial. I also need to arrange something about this tone knob, but I can do that with the chassis in. Now, I'm putting the speaker in. I don't think that's going to shorten anything. I notice there is a trimmer there which I can't get to with the speaker in it, but I'm going to put it back together for the moment, and if I need to do an alignment I'll just take it out. It did come out quite easily, and do it that way, remembering of course that the speaker has to be grounded or attached to the chassis via these screws, so they have to be a good contact. Okay, to replace this horrible thing that was underneath the station dial, I'm cutting out a piece of clear plastic Chinese food container, and what I'm going to do is spray the reverse side of this black so it shows through the plastic, and should look nice and shiny and pretty good, I hope. If not, I'll try something else, but this seems like a good start, and then I can put a gold line or a white line across the middle of it. Well, there's the result. I sprayed that side. On the other side it's nice and shiny, and I put a thin gold line across that side by putting two pieces of masking tape very close together, drawing the line, pulling them off. Very simple, but it should look good on there. I'm not sure how I'm going to attach it, possibly a bit of glue or double-sided tape. It does tend to kick up a little bit around the edges. And if I put the dial pointer in there, and that goes over the top, yeah, it looks pretty good. So time to clear the bench off a little bit and give myself some space, and we'll get this thing back in the cabinet. And the battery wire's over there, and that earphone wire, I think I have to put the earphone wire in first. Hold it on the inside while I screw it on. There we go. It doesn't have to be too tight. That'll do. I need to manoeuvre this switch past. If I put it in, if I tilt it in that way, that'll do. Yep, that's going in. Gee, those pigeons are noisy on the roof. There we go, and that looks like those holes will line up. I'll put the my makeshift one in first, because it might be more difficult, I don't know. It's just fine. This one doesn't line up perfectly. It's a little bit in. I wonder if I can prise that out. No. Okay, what can I do with that? It needs a washer or something under it to bring the hole in the bossing back a little bit. Okay, I've decided to put a washer on each side, just like that. That will bring the two holes in closer together so that it will go in okay. And we want that facing up like that. That should be fine. Alright, take two. Now, watching that little switch, slide him in there. There we go. And yep, that's now lining up nicely. This needs to line up with that post there, which is maybe a little bit over, but I think we'll get the screw in. It's yeah, it'll be okay. So getting the screws in is always the fun part. See if I can drop that in the hole. There we go. I said drop in the hole, that's right. I should find my split screwdriver, but it's not just to hand. This'll do. Okay, so go. Great things these. I wish I could buy another one. I'd like another smaller one. So I think this has worked out pretty well. I've decided to use double-sided tape to attach it rather than try and glue it on or anything. I hope I can peel the backing off this tape without too much trouble. Oh yeah, it comes off okay. So I've marked the horizontal line on this, so I can just place this on here and line it up. Oh, that's where it's going now. I put it in the wrong spot. I pulled it up. It's taken the paint off the back. I'm going to have to respray it. Okay, that's going to be tomorrow now. I'll just pull this tape off. Well, I've resprayed the bloody thing, and it's turned out alright, so I'll have another go at putting it on. This time I'll have to make sure I do it in one go. While I was doing that, I got to thinking the case could possibly use another coat of lacquer. I was a little bit disappointed with it, and I'm glad I did this. I masked it off and gave it another spray, and it's definitely a worthwhile improvement. It's looking much nicer. So it's got a nice gloss to it now. It's touch dry. It's probably been done an hour ago, and I can safely pull the masking off. I'm just masking these little holes where the off thing goes in, because I don't want the holes to get blocked up and break the pins off trying to push it in. Here we go. There, I'm much happier with that. Okay, here we go. I've put the double-sided tape on the back of it. It's peeling off the paper. I've attached a couple of handles to the top so that I can pick it up. I put my alignment marks back on there, setting them up with a square. So, take two. I wasn't going to video this, but at great risk to my reputation and sanity, I am going to do it on camera. So there we go. That's lining up, that's lining up. Yes. Taking my little markers off. And my handles. So now the gang's completely shut, so if I place this on here in line with my gold line and press it on firmly, that seems to be okay. And then this cap should go in over the top. And there we go. And this very helpfully shows all the stations on the North Island of New Zealand on this side and the South Island on this side. It does have frequency marked around here in, I guess, 10 kilocycle increments or 5 kilocycles. It's got 55, 60 up to 130, then 150, and some small intermediate yellow dots. It would be pretty hard to set it accurately by frequency. I guess it's just a case of turn it and see what you get. But it works smoothly, and it will be fine for the purposes of this radio. Now, this tone control, I have put a screw in the side of this so that it just protrudes on the inside, not enough to interfere with the volume switch, but enough to grab the side of the tone pot. I have cleaned up both the volume and tone pots, by the way. I took out a second mortgage on the house and purchased a can of deoxit. It is good stuff. Whether it's worth the money or not, I don't know. We'll see. So that's on, and when that's turned around to there, that should engage the switch to turn it off. We'll pop on the volume knob. That goes like that, and again that's cleaned up pretty well. There we go. It needs to be lifted up a little bit. In fact, I could put a felt under that so it doesn't scrape. That operates smoothly though. I did think that this would accommodate 4 D cells, and looking at it, it probably should, but none of the D cell battery holders that I could buy would fit in this space. I tried C cell ones and they also didn't quite fit. So I ended up buying this. This is 4 AA batteries. Now, 4 AA batteries in my other transistor radios lasts a reasonable time, so I thought that'd probably be okay on this. I fitted a socket for this plug so I don't have to lose the original plug. So, and this has double-sided tape on the back. Now, I'm just going to put it in with the double-sided tape for now, because I suspect I'm going to find something better later on. For now, this is it. I'm going to plug it in here. It should not come on because I'm pretty sure I turned it off. Oh, that sounds like it's on. Is that on or off? No, that's off now. That's off. I think I've got the thing the wrong way around. Alright, well that's off now anyway. So I'll just peel the double-sided tape off and stick it in here. If I can. At last. Now this opens upwards, so I'll put it towards the bottom here so that it can be opened easily enough. Just about there. Press it in. Yeah, I'm going to have to secure that plug somehow or other. Might just tape it to the side for the moment. I just don't want the positive floating around and touching something. I'll do that for the moment. There, that's safe enough for now. As I say, I expect to find something better than this. Now, the other thing I've done, made up a couple of little wooden clips for here, so the back just slides in like that and closes. Now this was the wrong way. Oh no, that's right, that's off. Yes. Yeah, that's right. That's the end of travel, and the off things are pointing towards each other. So there we go. Turn it on.
Impossible positions to find the podium at different stages against Australia's best sprinters. He was...
That'll be 7:20.
Found this can vary markedly depending on the that they need.
Is anybody taking responsibility?
Agreements with your friends, with your...
Especially in WA, not going to the doctor because
nothing I'm done, so yeah, it's a whirlwind.
An incredible resource for busy professionals, and hopefully one that can be utilised to improve racial literacy.
Now that is on the ferrite rod inside the shed. so no aerial connection. So that is, in my experience, pretty damn good. It's picking up not only the best local stations, it's picking up anything around the area. And the tone control does work.
You know, things calming a little. The ASX
you turn it
200
around
up by about 1/10% today. The market's still, I think, a little on edge, due in part to the escalation of conflict in the Middle East.
And you can definitely hear the treble cut come in, and at the end it's off. I would like to feel a click or something when it goes off, but given that the volume stays at the same level as you turn the phone switch off, you hear when it goes off. I guess a click isn't necessary. I'm just used to feeling or hearing some kind of click when you turn things off, especially when you've got batteries sitting there potentially going flat. But that's the way it was designed, that's what it is, and it works, so what more can you ask? Well, there we go. I like this one. It's a great little radio, really works well, and it doesn't take up too much room, so I can probably keep this one. It's been a longer video than I anticipated. It's going to come out a bit over an hour, I think. But I wanted to get it done in one. I didn't want to split this into another video. I've got so many radios to work on. In fact, what I might do is put up another very short video showing what I've got lying around the shed and see what people would like me to attempt next. I nearly said fix, but there's no guarantee of that. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you soon. Bye for now.